Oh, there we go. Cheers. This is the Decoction mash Pilsner. Before I go much further, it just smells right. I think the S189 yeast is perfect. The aroma's nice. It's got a really nice carb going. I don't know if you can pick up the bubbles in there. It's clear, and I haven't used any fining agents. It always looks a bit cloudy on the camera from the condensation and the reflection of the light on it. But it is quite clear. It's not perfectly glass clear, like I would have if I had filtered it. But it was no chilled. No chill can have a real effect on the clarity of your beers and give it a little bit of haze, because you don't chill it fast. Chilling fast is one of the important steps to a nice clear beer. Sometimes there's always exceptions to the rules, but this is just great. I'm not going to lie, I was skeptical how much a decoction mash and the little method I did, all electric, with a very modified malt, but I am pleasantly surprised. You know, there's people that say good and bad about decoctions. Well, until you try it, I guess it's hard to say much at all, is it? There's definitely more malt. I was going to say caramel, but it's not really sweet. There's just something there that the other beers didn't have that's really nice. Like, it can do a lot of things, decoction mashing. It can add tannins. It obviously adds some tannins, but there's a bit of argument whether how much it actually adds makes a difference, or it's one of the things that adds a good thing to the flavour. Melanoidins, there's all sorts of things that people say decoction mashes can do to a beer. So, look, are they needed? No, they're not needed. Step mashing isn't really needed these days. But they can help, certainly help beers like this, like a Pilsner. The next one I'm going to do will probably be at least a double decoction, maybe a triple. I have got some European Pilsner malt coming. I'm not sure how modified it is. I'll decide when I look into the details of it. But most modern malts, yeah, you know, the mash happens that quickly. By the time you might do the old school was called a protein rest, then bring that up in the first step into a low mash temperature. By the time you do a decoction mash there, the conversion's all done. Well, by the time you take you leave it there to settle for a little while, then give it a bit of a rest. Then you take out the decoction, you boil that for at least 15 minutes. Dark beers you might even do for 30 minutes. By the time you've done that, the mash is over with this modern modified malts. So even though boiling and doing a second decoction or third decoction to bring it into mash out may still add some things, it's not quite as important as it used to be. Does that make sense? And all the steps, because it just things happen so fast these days. But if you haven't done one, I really suggest having a go. The next one I'm going to do I think 100% Pilsner malt. And just see what sort of colour. I think that's the trouble though. I think the next malt I'm getting, Pilsner malt, I couldn't get the same malt. This was Wyman Pilsner. And I think I'm getting premium Pilsner. I can't remember. I was looking at a few different ones last night. And it's lighter in colour. It's, I think, 2 to 3 in the colour range. And this one was a little bit higher than that. Maybe 3 to 6 or something. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but so that'll be even a bigger test to see if it does add much colour, because it's going to be a very light beer if it doesn't. I would not be disappointed if someone served me that in a Belgian bar or if I bought it in the shop at all. That is really lovely. It's much lighter than it looks on camera and clearer. I did do another review in the garage the other day when the family was here. I sort of poured one and ran out there and tried to do one. I'll have a look at the footage. If it's any good, I might throw it on the end of here and you'll have a double review. And you might get some better shots of the colour and the clearness. Clearness? Clarity. Anyway, we'll have a quick look at the ferment and how it went. The tilt mucked me around a little bit. It's still mucking me around now in the third time I'm using it. I'm seriously considering sending it back. It seems to be working better through the Raspberry Pi than the phone app. The phone app has paused at 1084 again, and it's just stuck there. Even though it says the uncalibrated reading looks closer to what it should be, the main reading's just paused and stopped again halfway through the ferment. Anyway, that's enough talk about that. We'll talk about that in another video probably when I send it back. But yeah, let's have a look at how this fermented, just for the people that were wondering. It was a very fast ferment. I didn't force it to be a fast ferment. I just did. I'll talk about that when we look at the footage. All right, cheers. Take it easy. Decoction Pils. Get into it. So we'll have a quick look at the ferment. Sorry about the camera angle, looking up my nose. I'm in lockdown and things have changed a little bit. So we can see the ferment here. It's a bit hard for you to probably see and understand all those numbers there, and it is for me too. But if we go and have a look at the chart, if you don't know what this is, the blue is the gravity, which is listed up the left-hand side here, and the red is the temperature, which is listed on the right-hand side. Now you can see there's a lot of errors in here where I had to recalibrate it and it wasn't working properly, the tilt. And there's an error at the end here where I'd finished the ferment but I hadn't turned it off, so it was still recording some readings here. Now we can clean that up, and I like to do it with a copy of the original, so I can keep a copy of the original. I'll probably never look at it again, but just in case. So you can go up here and you can make a copy, and we'll just keep it as that copy of Decoction Pils. Takes a little second to move over. So now we have a copy here we can play with, and it doesn't matter if we stuff it. We've still got the original. Now the way to edit it is in the data section down the bottom here, the third one along. And you can see the errors plainly here. That one's wrong. So you can right click over here, you highlight the track or the column, or the row I should say, and you delete it. And here you can do Control, click, delete selected rows. There's a massive errors here. I can select the top one, I can press Shift on the lower one and it will select them all. Right click, delete rows. 31 to 52 it happens to be. I could have actually deleted a few more there. And I'll do that again. Delete that one there. Oops, make sure you've only selected one. Delete that one there.
And I think that's about it. Oh, there was one at the end, wasn't there? If we slide to the end, that one there. Now if we go back to the chart, it's a lot clearer. There's none of those big errors in it. So you can see here, we started on the 2nd of the 8th, or the 8th of the 2nd, I should say. It was the 8th of February. And the starting gravity was 1049, and the temperature was about 17 degrees. Now I always pitch a little bit warm, and once the yeast starts, I'll knock it down to ferment temp. I do that with my ale yeasts too. You'll find it in instructions on yeast to do it if you're pitching dry. And it's kind of like rehydration. When you rehydrate, if that's your want, you do it with warmer water than what you ferment. It really gets the yeast going. That's the idea here too. Gets the yeast nice and excited, and they start to work fast. But you don't leave it for too long. Maybe 6 hours. Once you start to see a little bit of action, usually. Just the smallest of action, bit of movement and stuff. Anyway, by that stage for me, I started dropping the temp. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning by the looks of it. So it was about, about 6 or 8 hours later it was. And then the ferment was off. Going down, 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 down. And by, the 13th? From the 8th, it was virtually, it was finishing right off there. Now, once it got to below 1.020, I started bumping the temperature. I bumped it 2 degrees to 15 degrees, and it was there from 11 o'clock. Oh, actually, it was from earlier. I started bumping it from about 9 o'clock to about 6 o'clock that night, and then I bumped it again. So it was at 15 all day, and I bumped it 2 degrees to 17, and that would have been overnight. And then after that, I bumped it up to 18, and you can see it just finished off nicely. Once it had been it was reading 13 for a good, it started reading 13 about the 14th, 3 o'clock, and was still reading at the 16th. I knew it was finished, so I started cold crashing. I didn't bother a slow cold crash. I haven't had any issues with this yeast or off flavours doing a fast cold crash. I did put a little break in the middle because your fridge can, if it's trying to go from 18 degrees down to 2 degrees, especially in things like Firmzillas or Conicals, the bottom can get very, very cold and it's very thin. And I didn't want any of it to freeze or anything, especially if you want to keep the yeast. So I sort of stopped in the middle at about 10 degrees. And then once it was at 10 degrees, sitting there for a couple of hours, I dropped it down again to the 2 degrees. And it did drop to 12, but that is temperature correction. My tilt, I don't know whether it's supposed to. I read that they do temperature correct, but mine, or they don't need to have it in the software because it shouldn't be affected. Well, that's what I read out of the FAQs, but mine definitely is affected by temperature. In every brew I've done, in the cold crash, especially I noticed it in the Quike where it was quite high, and had to go down to 2. It dropped a lot. And anyway, so within 7 days, the ferment was over and I cold crash. You can see here, I started the cold crash on the 15th and we were done and finished by the 18th. So 3 days cold crash and 7 days ferment, 10 days and it was done. That is not what I would call a fast ferment. That is a run-of-the-mill normal ferment. You might get it slower if you haven't pitched enough yeast and you just pitch it at 9 degrees or something like that. This yeast isn't really meant to be fermented at 9 degrees, even though it's a lager yeast. But say yours does. If you start at 9 and finish at 9, that's when it could take 3 weeks to ferment. If you work the yeast, I'm not doing anything wrong here. I'm just helping it along and doing the diacetyl rest at the same time. Even your lager shouldn't take 3 weeks. But that's up to you how you want to do it. I do not consider this a fast ferment at all. It's just a regular ferment with a lot of yeast. That was 3 packets of yeast. I could have used 1 packet, but I would have done like a 4-litre starter with it. I've seen some people when they do starters add 2 or 3 packs, and that's just I think that's a real waste. If you're going to do a starter, like a 4-litre starter, 1 pack of yeast. Even if you're going to do a 2-litre, 1 pack of yeast is enough to get it going. If you do a 4-litre starter, which is really good for a normal batch of lager, ferment it for a couple of days, cold crash it in the fridge, pour off the 3 litres, at least 3 litres of waste once the yeast settle on the bottom. Mix it up and use that into your fermenter when you pitch, and you'll get a nice strong ferment. Your beer will taste better. Your lagers taste better with a couple of packs or 1 pack in a starter than they do just struggling on 1 or 2 packs of yeast. Even if you do your calculations, I've just found out lager yeast, you want a big starter. It was always the way years ago. It was a 4-litre starter, and in the old days, everyone used to always say 4 packs. Nowadays, people do their calculators and they think they're really accurate, and they can get away with 2 packs of yeast. And sometimes you can, but sometimes you also don't know how your yeast has been handled and things like that. And I just found the taste is better the more yeast you use really with a lager. Okay, so I think that's about it. It was a 7-day ferment, mostly at 13 degrees, bumped to 18, crashed it to 10 days, done. All right, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, stay safe in lockdown, stay at home. Don't make people sick. There's people like me that people see me at the shops and think I'm just a normal bloke. They don't know that I've got a serious disease. And if I catch this cold thing, it will very, very, very likely be the end of me. So stay at home, look after your kids and your loved ones. Other than that, a bit more positive. Yeah, I said like, subscribe, share. Thanks to my viewers. Thanks to my Patreon. Check out my Patreon channel. I always try and upload at least 1 video to the Patreon channel, extra video to the Patreon channel a week, sometimes 2. There's all sorts of stuff. Sometimes it's just me chatting. Sometimes it's extra brew footage. There's all sorts of stuff. Sometimes there's videos I make that I just haven't put up. I don't think they're quite right for my major channel. Anyway, that's enough. Take care. Cheers. Peace. The wife's home and the kids, so I have to pour inside and then come out here and do the review. It is a very, very nice looking beer. As usual, it looks dark from that side. Just let me get away from the light. As you can see, it's very clear. I'm just trying to get the right colour on camera. It's that yellow colour. It's really hard with these lights. And the condensation now that's on the glass. That's my microphone. All right, enough of that. I still can't get how yellow and clear it actually is on the camera, but that doesn't matter. This, of course, is the Decoction Pilsner I did. Just a single decoction from, I think it was 61 degrees to 68 or something like that from memory. It was a few weeks ago now. It is now nearly mid. It's the 13th, Friday the 13th of March. And I brewed this a few months ago. I'll put the date down there. I haven't got it in front of me. But it's clear. It's not filter clear, but it is clear. Of course, it was in the middle of summer. I had to no chill. No chill is no favour for clear beers, but you know, this one hasn't done too bad. As far as the difference between the Czech Pilsners I've been brewing, I really do prefer the flavour of this one. It's got that nice Czech yeast aroma, and the flavour's just, it's hard to explain. It's beefier, but it's a Pilsner, remember. It's not going to be beefy like a stout, but there's more flavour there. I'd say a caramel, but it's not a caramel. Malt. That's what it is. It is a beautiful beer. I did have to rush this review through because I'm going to drink it tonight. I've been putting it off and putting it off because I know it's going to run out. So I have like one drink of this a week because I hadn't done the review. But it's beautiful. I'm going to try again to get a shot from this side to see what it really looks like. There's a better picture of how clear it is. But it's still not the right colour. Oh, see that yellow colour? Anyway, I don't have to go on about it. You just have to believe me. I just need a proper photo for the... oh, that's better. Look, you can see that's the colour. That's all I had to do was bring it closer. Anyway. It's really lovely, and if you haven't done a decoction mash, I suggest you try it. It's not just a trendy thing to do. There's that colour again. It makes a big difference. It doesn't matter whether you're using modern malts or your older malts. There's a reason people did it. That is lovely. The next step is the triple decoction. We're going to have a quick look at the ferment. It was the first one with the tilt. So we'll have a quick look at that, how the ferment went. It was done in a week. I didn't push it. There was no fast ferment, just lots of yeast. All right, this one's just about to run out. There's not much else I can say. It's a great Pilsner. Try it. Try decoction mash. You really, really should.